All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. We got a full house. If you're online right now, thank you for also tuning in online. We are on YouTube Live as well. So today is April 15th, 2024, and I called this city council meeting to order. Up first, we have the invocation by Pastor Steve Ferris of the First Baptist Church of Destin. Thank you, as always, for being here.
Father, we want to thank you for this opportunity again to be here. We want to thank you for all those who give of their time, Lord, and all those who have come to hear and support and pray for this city and be a part of this city. Lord, there's turmoil around the world and in all places. Lord, we especially pray for what's going on in Israel, and Lord, that your hand be upon that. And Lord, our own government is just in the turmoil. But Lord, we thank you that this group can come together and work together. Lord, we just pray for your divine guidance in each and everything you do. We thank you for your protection. We thank you for your healing power, Lord, that I'm able to be here tonight. And we just want to give all praise and glory to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Councilwoman Aber with the pledge.
Please join with your hand in your heart. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Man. All right. With the meeting underway, I will accept a motion at this time for the approval of the agenda or any alternate changes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull 3A and 3C off the consent agenda, and I'd like to move forward the city manager consideration from the city, underneath the city attorney to the very beginning of after the public comments.
Perfect. All right. Anyone have questions? Any other things on polling? All right. Seeing none, call the vote. Polling 3A, 3C, and moving the manager up. All right, ayes have it unanimously so moved. That will be our agenda for tonight. All right, moving along, no proclamations tonight. First up, public comments. I'm going to take it from my right, y'all's left. Anyone in the public here wanting to speak tonight?
wrong side of the line, Jason.
All right, well, if Jason, you're up. All right, no, just for Jason, we're going to start it. We're going to go my left, your
I felt like the Bionic Man.
We
All
know
right.
how that goes.
Name, address, the floor is yours.
All right, Jason Belcher. I'm at 147 Cybert Avenue. And thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Just quickly, a couple of comments about upcoming events and some things in the future for our Little Destin History and Fishing Museum. On Founders Day, on the 4th, we're going to celebrate the 90th birthday of the post office. And Tara Wixom Destin and Vivian Williams are working hard to plan a little party. I want y'all to come out. I think we're going to try our best to put a birthday hat on top of the post office if we can. And there'll be free admission that afternoon. And I think Tara may be cooking a cake. That'd be worth it there itself. But anyway, we'll have some refreshments and stuff and celebrate the 90th birthday of the post office. Which leads me to the second thing I'd like to mention is next year will be the 100th anniversary of the Primrose. And one of the artifacts that the city has that's most important, our heritage, that might be it. If not the most important, it would be one of them. We've all worked hard over the years to help preserve it. There's still some more work that needs to be done, but getting ready for that is going to be a big deal. So we'd like to get the city's input on how we can best plan a really great centennial for the Primrose. I know I'm partial to it, mainly because I painted the whole stern bottom of that thing about 6 years ago. So I think I'd like to see it preserved. There's also an opportunity with the museum for some grants that we'd like to apply for. The issue we have is with limited staff and limited experience, we're not the best at writing for grants. And so maybe at some point, with the council's permission and encouragement, might ask city staff to help us with helping Vivian with some grant applications and some writing. It would be a big deal if we could somehow get that done and secure for the museum and for the city itself some funding to help improve those artifacts and keep them preserved. So that's all I wanted to mention. If you can make it to the birthday party on Founders Day, it would be a lot of fun. Thank you, folks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. Jeffrey loves writing grants.
Chatham Morgan, 339 Calhoun Avenue. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm up here tonight to support Louis Unguzzi for the city manager position. I think all of the candidates are exceptionally qualified. I will say that I worked with Louis for 4 years. All of y'all have worked with him. He's a consummate professional. I think he's well qualified for the job. And I think it's a testament that he has served in his position of the community development for 4 years. He's seen the dynamics of this council and this community, and he still wants the job, which would beg the question that there might be a little glitch there with him, but and this is not a knock on the other candidates. I think the city of Destin has a lot of positive momentum going right now. And I know when you hire a new city manager, there's this loss of institutional knowledge, and it can kind of gum up the gears. And I'm super pleased with the direction the city's heading. I think y'all are doing a great job, and I think Louis can take a lot of credit for that. And so to reward him with the city manager position, I think would be great. Thank you, and good luck with your decision. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Chatham. Thanks for being here. Yes, sir. Push that button. There you go.
Hello, my name is Steve Napier, and I live at 126 Country Club Drive West. And I came to the last meeting to discuss with you that I had a flooding issue where the city's property was it was draining over onto my property and causing some problems. I wanted to update you and let you know that some action has occurred positively. There's been a new drain installed across the street, which is the guys who put it in, I think it's the Hayes crew, but they did the cement work and they did a really excellent job, and it seems to be helping. There's still some problem with the city draining over onto my property though, and right now they've put flags in my yard and it looks like there's something else proposed. I wanted to let y'all know that I still have not received an official update from my February 6th request for an update from either the floodplain people or flood management people, nor the engineering department. No official. I've just been hearing through the grapevine what they're planning on doing. And what I would propose that they do is to solve this problem correctly. I worked in surgery for 34 years, so I'm pretty good with how bypass works and different things like that. To solve this problem correctly, what they need to do, in my opinion, of course I'm not an engineer, but in my opinion, I think they need to put a type of a pipe up under the driveway that will allow the water to move over to the city drain, which is on the city property. And that way the water won't continue to come down my driveway and flood my property and flood my house. I've made a picture here that shows some of the issues. And once again, I really sincerely want to invite anyone who's interested at all, that has the time, come over and have a cup of coffee with me. Let me show you how this thing developed into the problem that it is, because it was not this problem when I purchased this house. It was a lot smaller of a problem, and it could have been dealt with very easily, but because of some things that occurred, it's gotten compounded. And I would love to show each and every one of you, or any one of you that has the time to come over and look. I'd like you to see what's happened to make this thing so much worse. And with that said, I'd like to show you all these pictures, and maybe you can get a little bit more of an idea of what's going on. And I want to comment now on the Mr. Lewis. I've had a meeting before with the city attorney and the engineers because of some other issues at my house. And he's the only person who I know who's up for potentially being the manager, but he was very level-headed and kept things cool, calm, and tried to do his best to resolve the situation in a very difficult issue. And for that reason, I would say, I kind of like him. He seems to be really good with keeping things cool, because believe me, they got really heated with some issues that occurred on the property right next door to me, which I'd love to show you if you'll come by.
All right, thank you. All right, while he's passing up, anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening, council members and mayor. My name is Sid Potter. I live at 536 Juanita Avenue. I'm going to showcase what he just mentioned about flooding. The issue on the 10th, the storm drain was repaired on my property, and it went across the street to the swale on Kelly. In a matter of 30 minutes, we had water 9 inches over the road on the 10th of April. And this problem has been going on for years. The council has been told about this for years. They put some swales in on Kelly. The problem is, it's called engineering. Water does not flow uphill. There are 2 drains, one at the top of Anderson and the other one's at the top of Overstreet. The water goes downhill. To complicate the matters, there's also one at the top of Snapper, and the water flows downhill and it pockets at the intersection of Juanita and Snapper. It also comes off Kelly. The house at 444 Snapper and 442 Snapper on the 10th had water all the way to the front door in a matter of 30 minutes. I have video of it. I have pictures of it. We've talked about this. These swales that they put in don't work. You're talking about taking out the piece of sod I have in front of my home and the one across the street. By doing that, all you're going to do is cause their houses to flood. The house at 445, one house across the street, had water 3/4 of the way up the lawn. I've never seen that much water. I've lived there for 7 years. This has been going on and on and on. Water does not flow uphill. We have 2 drains. They're at the top of streets. They're doing nothing, absolutely nothing. And this issue has been brought before this board and the city of Destin for now, I know of 5 years. And it has to be fixed. The issue of water happened so fast in 30 minutes. Those of you who were here for Opal, I was. People don't believe what happened here at Opal. On the 10th was a classic example of we had 5.5 inches on my rain gauge and my pool, I can tell. 5.5 inches in about 45 minutes. And the water stayed there. We have to literally go out of our home in the storm and rake the drains out because of all the debris. Because the streets from up, again, the water flowing downhill with all this debris plugs up the 2 drains, which take care of basically 2 blocks. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, anyone else? Going middle? Yep.
Okay. Sabina Zunguze, 36 Garnet Place. This is my partner.
Elizabeth Jenkins.
Yes. So we are, yes.
Her address?
743.
743 Harbor Boulevard. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we are here with happy news. We, both of us, just started a farmer's market. We have been doing farmer's markets in the local area, and we thought, why do we go to 30A? And why do we go to Pensacola? Why do we go to Fort Walton Beach? We live here in Destin. Why don't we have a farmer's market? So we've just started one. We had our second one yesterday. The market is located just by Goodwill at 743 Harbor Boulevard. And we are open every single Sunday, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we deliberately called it the Destin Community Farmers Market because this is a community thing. This is for our community here in Destin. We would have called it Destin Farmers Market. No, we wanted it to be part of the community right here. So we are here to ask for your support, tell your neighbors, your family, and hopefully whoever is watching, just know that we are there every Sunday, 743 Harbor Boulevard, next to Goodwill. Yeah, and it's in the parking lot. We have everything from vegetables to fruits, flowers, soups, pies, jams, honey, jewelry, cheeses, bread, mushrooms, toys, superfoods, anything you can think of. Yes. So, yes. So we are just here to announce that. Happy news. So.
Excuse me, ma'am. I just got one question. Where are you going to go next when you run out of room? Because it's going to happen soon.
Yes, and
Everybody's very excited.
Yes, everyone is so excited about it. We didn't even anticipate having so much support from everyone. We had the community came out yesterday. We were so happy about that. And we are looking for somewhere to go. And with your help, hopefully, it has to be around 98 so people can see where we are. If we go anywhere inside, it might be a little bit hidden, where people might not see us. So your support in finding more space wherever we can go, and that would be great. Thank you for asking.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks.
All right. Yes, sir.
Howdy. Named Don Dallas, 442 Snapper Drive, here in Destin. I'm gonna get all the attaboys out first, and the last one won't be an attaboy. Thank you, city, and all your folks that helped get things done. Main Street looks beautiful. Perfect. I loved it. We got new street lights on Snapper Drive. They're so bright, it's perfect. The old yellow ones, you couldn't see, it's dark. So, attaboy on that. Mr. Williams, your crew, thank you, sir. Appreciate your help. Our sheriff's department, I love them. Today I'm coming down the airport and everybody's speeding. 2 officers down there getting them. Keep it up, boys. Love you. All right, last thing I'll make quick. The water deal that Mr. Potter talked about, that gentleman back there, we got same problem. Okay, Snapper runs north and south. I'm right off of Kelly, kind of around the corner from the school. Snapper's here, my house is here. Juanita, where Mr. Potter lives, we're T-Bone. My next door neighbor, last Wednesday, called city, or not y'all, but the engineering, of course nobody called him, up to his ankles in his front yard. Same way at my house. I know a lot of rain, but we've been trying to get this resolved. I've been there 5 years in Destin, okay? Been trying to get it resolved since 2020. The city came out, engineers, they got with man next door to me, and they was gonna put a big sewer in right there at that T, where it should be. Well, they're gonna try and put the swells in. They put them in on one side of the street. I called Mr. Bodie the other day and left a message with him Wednesday or Thursday and told him, I said, they're not working. We need a big drain right there because it runs downhill runs downhill on Snapper Drive, and T-Bone's right there off of Juanita. And then my house, it's for some reason, the driveway's kind of like this. Every time anything happens, I'd like to see a smaller one, like they have on Juanita right there by my house where it catches that water because it's running right up in my driveway all the time and getting all over. I mean, I got pictures of it, okay? And I got pictures of the storm last Wednesday. I'll share them with anybody who wants to see them, but it's not good over there, okay? So anyway, I appreciate y'all, appreciate your time, and I'm done.
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Dallas.
Thank y'all.
All right, anyone middle? All right, going far right. All right, seeing none. All right, I'll close the public comments at this time, and we will move to 3A, consent agenda 3A.
Mayor, do you still want to?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, we're going to do, sorry, Jim. Yeah, don't give me the attitude. Kim, take it away. Yeah, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. All right, Kim, help me out here.
Okay, so we are here now to talk about the city manager selection. So just for the benefit.
I'm sorry, could you ask the folks with the conversation to move not where they're disrupting? I can't hear.
Oh, hey. Mr. Potter, if you guys want to have a conversation, can you move it outside? Okay, then, man, I got your name here. Steven, guys, you're interrupting. I know, I just got a couple of complaints, so outside or keep it quiet. All right, Kim.
Okay, So we're here to talk about the city manager selection process. For the benefit of the public, I'll just do a very quick recap of where we are at. So back in January, the city council passed a resolution that would set up a process for the hiring of a city manager, and that was Resolution 2402. The city council, each city council member appointed a member to a city manager selection committee, and that committee subsequently met and reviewed over 50 resumes. They shortlisted candidates and they conducted an initial round of interviews of that shortlist. After their initial round of interviews, they cut the list again, and they came up with 3 candidates that were forwarded to the city council for city council member interviews. Those 3 candidates were Mr. Mike Castro, Mr. Kevin Cowper, and Mr. Louis Zanguze. So at this point, all of you have met with those 3 candidates, and it is now, the ball is in your court to make a decision as to whether you would like to direct the HR director and I to negotiate a contract with one of those candidates or take any other action that you deem appropriate.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so at this time, I will open up for discussion, or if anyone has a motion and would like to begin. You want to go first?
No, not particularly, but I will.
You pulled it first.
Well, no, I mean, first of all, I want to thank the committee and the staff. The committee did a great job. I want to thank Mr. Destin for proposing this methodology. We got some extraordinarily qualified candidates, and the committee worked very hard, and I think any of the 3 that we pick could be a great city manager. I think they all have strengths and weaknesses, and in my conversations with them, what I tried to do was figure out whose strengths could compensate for our weaknesses, and we have some, and whose weaknesses we could compensate, the other members of the staff could compensate for their weaknesses so that we could have the best team going forward. I normally favor the internal candidate just because I believe, the same reason I favor committees, we ought to grow our own. And we have a fully qualified candidate from internal, Louis. And so I will make the motion that we authorize the city attorney and the city HR director to negotiate with Louis to be our next city manager. And I don't know if we want to put a cap on salary or compensation, but I would be willing to entertain that. Obviously, I don't think they should start at what Lance, who had been here for 5 years, ended at, but I'm not willing to, fix a number, but if somebody else has a number in mind, I'll probably agree to that. So that's my motion.
I'll make a second on that motion.
All right, with a motion and a second, Councilman Schmidt.
Yeah, thank you for the committee and their time, and all the candidates as well. And I agree with Mr. Bagby tonight, and appreciate everything he said. So, thank you.
Councilman Destin.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is my 7th term on this council, so I've seen 28 years worth of city managers come and go and gone through the selection process lots and lots of times. And I want to also commend our group. These are the most qualified candidates that I have ever seen. Any opportunity I've had to participate in picking a city manager, each and every one of them. The one advantage that Louis has is he's been here and he's been in the trenches, but the other 2 gentlemen I think are excellent candidates. So at this time I would be supportive of the motion.
All right, Councilwoman Hebert.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want it to be known that I agree with Mr. Bagby, Mr. Destin, and Mr. Schmidt that we had a wonderful committee that did a great job of helping us weed out some qualified but not as highly qualified as who we ended up with. And it is a tough decision to make sure we get somebody that's going to be great for our city. But, you know, looking at the individuals that were the last three, I agree that Mr. Zanguzzi has done a fantastic job working with our entire city staff at all levels. And in the last few months, there's been some very tricky situations that he has, as a citizen said, very level-headedly taken care of it and diffused it and made sure we could move on with it. So I am thrilled that Mr. Zanguzzi is the right choice to continue to lead our city into the future and keep going in the route where we are, and that is taking care of our citizens first, our businesses second, and our tourists third. So that's my thoughts.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, all right, I'm going to call the vote. All right, unanimously, Mr. Zanguzzi, congratulations, sir. Well deserved.
Come back up, Louis.
All right.
Back up here.
All right. Now we're going to run to 3A, consent agenda, Destin City and Live Oak Fiber LLC ground lease. Councilman Bagby, take it away.
Thanks, Mayor. In conversations with the staff, this afternoon, there were 3 items that I discussed with the city attorney and the staff about amending the contract, and I believe the city attorney had a conversation with Live Oak, and they're amenable. I would make the motion to approve this contract with the following 3 changes. Number 1, an escalation charge, or I'm sorry, an escalation clause that allows for an increase of 3% per year. So in 10 years, when this contract comes up for renewal, it will be not for $25,000, but for $32,500. I wanted more, but the city attorney convinced me 3% per annum was good. You know, I'd like about 10% per year, but, you know, she's probably nicer than I know she's nicer than I am. Also, it has a couple of places in there where if they no longer need the facility, they have to clear it out within 120 days, but there's no cause or no issue for us to enforce that if it's not cleaned up. So I asked that a clause be put in there where if they abandon it and they don't clear out their equipment within 120 days, that it becomes ours and we clear it out and we can charge them any cost to remove the equipment and restore the area to its natural, the way it exists now. And then the last thing was the maintenance of the exterior appearance. That would include the fencing. I understand they own all the equipment, but if somebody gets in there and paints graffiti on it, I want them within 30 to 60 days to repaint it or bring it back to standard, not be an eyesore for everybody that drives up and down Mountain Drive. So I would make the motion to approve that contract with those 3 changes.
I'll second that.
All right, motion is second. Any further discussions? Do I have a 4th stipulation? All right, seeing none, I'll call the vote. I can give you one. All right, ayes have it unanimously, so moved. Thank you for that. All right, 3C. Want to take it away again?
So the message boards, we currently have 2. The county has a couple, I believe. The sheriff may have a couple. There are a couple floating around. My issue is at $16,000 a pop, we don't need to spend $50,000. I can think of a lot more important things to spend $50,000 on in this city, but I'm willing to go with 1 to give us 3 total, and then we would just have to do a little work and coordinate if we need additional signboards. So I would just ask that we amend that recommendation or change that recommendation and approve the purchase of an additional signboard for the city, bringing us to a total of 3. And that's my motion.
right.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Councilman Destin, floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Mr. Bagby that it's not money that's well spent right now. I'm not even supportive of one for one reason. I've gazed through the sign ordinance, and it appears that signs on trailers are prohibited. You know, I spoke to the city attorney who said on a temporary basis, perhaps they are allowed, but I'm not sure about that. I know that that we have pursued people who had signs on trailers before, taking them to code enforcement in front of the magistrate. So it rubs me the wrong way to spend city money on a sign that may well be prohibited by our own ordinances, because I think pretty well we're supposed to adhere to what the ordinances say too. So while we would give the city attorney a chance to research the fine points of that ordinance, I would make a motion to table until the next meeting.
All right, motion, second. Call the vote. All right, motion table. All right, and that wraps up with all the polls.
Make a motion to approve consent agenda B, D, and E.
All right, thank you, Councilman Schmidt. Got a second? Calling the vote. All right, moving right along. Ayes have it. All right, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you. I just want to extend my heartfelt thanks to the committee that went through the process, and also the City Council for your entrusting me with this authority and responsibility. I hope to not to disappoint you. To the members of the public, I commit to listen to you, to give you all the opportunity to share your concerns, your aspirations, and so that we can help you acquire the quality of living that you aspire. Thank you much for the responsibility.
Okay. All right.
The first item I have for you this evening is a request from the Dolphin Point community to remove 9 public parking spaces that are creating a problem in their area. The city manager has had numerous discussions with the folks in the Destin area, in the Dolphin Point area, and we're bringing this item for you for discussion this evening and see whether you want to proceed with it. The city engineer will cover the details for you.
All right, Mr. Scott, take it away.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. All right, so on Noriega Point Drive, there are 9 public parking spaces that are not in the paid to park program. The HOA of Dolphin Point has requested to have those 9 spaces removed. I'm going to hit the highlights from staff's perspective of why they should be removed, and then Ms. Elisa Belcher, the HOA president, is here to speak on their behalf. So first and foremost, they're going to talk about safety and security issues that they're running into with those 9 spaces. The other thing I'd point out is the 9 spaces that are there do not meet the minimum code requirements for size. So they're about 16 feet long, and our code is 19. So when you get trucks or bigger vehicles parking there, it's overhanging into the roadway. And then the nearest public facility to these 9 spaces is 1.3 miles away at Osteen. This is phase 1 of their request. So tonight we're not talking about any potential vacation of right-of-way, but the grand plan that they have is to remove those 9 spaces, install sidewalk, roadside soil, and landscaping in that area, install fence and gates, and then come back and get a vacation of right-of-way for that section that's hatched on the right side to try to get the gate situated in a better spot there and secure their site. So with that, Ms. Belcher, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And thank you, Council, for letting me be here tonight. And they didn't call me, y'all didn't ask me for a vote, but I would have told you hands down that man right there is amazing. And he has represented this entire group in the city very well and has helped me get to this point, as well as most of the other city, Ryan and many of the others that are here tonight. So I want you to know up front, they have been awesome. Okay, so I don't want to confuse that issue. I did notice your core value of the month is transparency. And Lewis and I, when we were working on this grand plan, I think as Ryan called it, I like that. It is a grand plan, and it is requiring a lot of effort. That is a comprehensive plan of where we would like to be soon. It has nothing to do tonight with why I'm here. I'm here tonight for a public safety issue, but that vacating of part of our property will come. And I will let you know up front, I brought our wonderful architect tonight, Charlie Clary, who's been doing all of that project, as well as our lead counsel, John Townsend. So for you to know, I think Lewis had said transparency to know you will see me again in a few months. It depends on how long it takes the vacating process. So I did not want you to think we were withholding anything and showing back up in a few months. We are working towards that. But the reason I'm here tonight, as he told you, my name is Elisa Belcher, and I am the HOA president at Dolphin Point. Dolphin Point is on Merino Point Road. Most of you can see from the map. We dead end onto 6.5 acres around the harbor. I have been there. I did not just show up yesterday. I actually, my parents bought in 1978 on Holiday Isle. We didn't have any city government back then at all. We didn't have anything much, but the Green Knight. But now, well, I'm so sorry. I'm so nervous. I have been working at this for so long. I'm sorry. I am a second-generation owner there, and I have a lot of my owners tonight that I wanted you to know. They are all here, back here, my cheering squad. I have 5 of my 7 board members that are here. 1 drove from out of town in Houston. That is how important this matter is to us tonight. But to give you a little bit of a picture of Dolphin Point and what this encompasses is we have 120 residents. A third of our residents are full-time residents. A lot of those are here tonight. And I will let you know, a lot of those have ties in our industry here right in Destin. They are either in the bar or food industry. I think that's real important. They're local business owners. Another third of those owners, this is their second vacation home. So they come with their family and their grandkids, and they love to use the beach. Another third of our owners that own property there use it for rental property. So you're going to have a lot of people coming into the area for tourism. We are having a major problem with these 9 public parking places. I would like you to visualize your front yard, your side yard that you take care of, that you have your kids play or your grandkids or all your neighborhood kids in the yard, and you're in the middle of a community, and it dead ends into your property. These 9 public parking places sit in our front yard. The problem with the public parking, as he has said, there is not a public entity. I think they said 1.3. My little clock stepper says 1.8 when I walk. So, of course, we all know there isn't anyone that is parking there to go to Osteen Beach because nobody today is going to haul a 100-pound Yeti cooler and all their floaties and all their umbrellas 2 miles and walk. That's just not what is happening. But I do want to tell you a few of the things that are happening, and I think it's very important for you as our council. Y'all are making so many great decisions right now with our city to know what is going on and for us to be aware of it. We're having a major issue with, I feel like, drug trafficking, probably a little bit of possible sex trafficking. I know those are words we don't want to talk about in Destin, but I think in our culture we have to be aware, and the unusual behavior we are seeing is some of the things that keep me awake at night. I care about these people. These are my people right here, this community that I represent, and their kids and grandkids. So when you think about what we see sometimes after dark, and it is not good, it is not a healthy thing. These are hidden back in a neighborhood, and there is no way to monitor what activity goes on back there. So it's a real easy place to hide and not be seen. Another issue that we are having that I know that is a word you're familiar with, illegal liveries. All of a sudden, when the Destin Harbor had a moratorium, all of these pontoon boats that were operating illegally decided to back up into our backyard, into our harbor where our boats are. We have a little private beach where we go, and they were advertising on social media that you could come and park in Dolphin Point's public parking because it wasn't monitored. So imagine all of these random boats. You don't know who they are, where they've come from. They're parking in public parking. But as the mayor said one time, there's really, if you take a few steps out of your car, you're on our property. So they're all of a sudden walking out onto our docks. They get on these boats. They leave for the day. They come back. Well, it's not a public park. It's private property. There are no restrooms. So all of a sudden, you've got people out on our property urinating. changing clothes, dumping their garbage all out on our property, and then they go in those parking places and leave. But one of the biggest concerns to me is the liability for the city and for us as owners, because we don't know who these pickups and these illegal boats that are operating out of there. That is one of the problems. It continues to invite, I think anytime you have public parking in an area that is a home in a neighborhood, all it really seems to be doing is inviting a lot of mischief and nuisance into the area. It also gives the illusion, because it butts up to our 6.5 acres, that we are the public park. And that is unfortunate, because it is inviting people to create theft, trespassing, to get on our docks, and that liability is huge for all of us. It's huge for the city because they're labeled public parking. So I want you to know about that. The theft has been unreal. We have so many things missing all the time, and all of our boat docks are locked. So we are trying to do everything we can, but we find that late in the night we have gotten smart and put in a great security camera system. People park there in the public parking, and then they wander and filter all out into our property and onto the docks. Some are even minors. We see them jumping over fences. The idea of one of them falling in off a pier and drowning, the liability there is great. But I feel like that is something the city and as our property, we're all looking at as a public safety issue. And I think that's real important. Ryan addressed the size of the parking. I feel like that is an indicator of 1974 when our property was developed and those parking places were put there. We have supersized everything. And we have contractor trucks that show up. I don't know where they come from, and they park there. They are not ours. We require our people to park on our property. I think sometimes if contractors are doing work on Holiday Isle and they have extra trucks, and they're all working in one truck, they park it there overnight, they leave 12, 15-foot ladders extending out, or long, oversized SUVs. It kind of underground became known as the place to hide your car. You could leave it there for free. If you were going to be out of town, nobody would catch you. I will say Brian Davis, he is here somewhere. I've had him on speed dial. He has really tried to help us. But you can't get that, and overnight, even the city, I think it's unrealistic to ask the city to monitor what is going on after dark, late at night at 12 or 1 in the morning. And you can't either connect that they're staying, even though there's no overnight parking, they're smart enough to come pull in at dark at 2 a.m., spend the night in those vehicles, sleep in them, and then they're gone by the time that any of the city people could track them. But those two, imagine in your front yard waking up in the morning and looking out your front door and having a cup of coffee, and this crowd of people in that parking place has slept in that car. You don't know who they are, and all these strange men get out. They urinate all in your front yard once again and throw all of their drug paraphernalia and their garbage in your front yard. And then you've got people walking back and forth and going to the beach. That is what we are facing every day. The vehicles that extend way out, if you look at our property on this map, you will see the way we are set up. And of course, that's the way it was in 74. So we're kind of working with odd-shaped property, which is another reason you'll see me in a few months. But part of our property on one side has tennis courts, but the other side has a pool. So, you know, we've got little kids that come out of one building and they're darting back and forth all the time. So I think the visibility factor there too is a key thing as a city and as homeowners that we're trying to be very aware of. So I wanted to make you aware of that. And I don't want to come asking the city for anything and expecting you to fix it without us partnering. So here's when I sat down with all of these great city guys way back. We started trying to figure out what we do. In 2016, if you look on the map, you can see on there, we partnered with the city in 2016, and we did a sidewalk from the corner of Lagoon all the way to those public parking places. It was very successful. Hey, we take care of it. We cut the grass, we landscape, we water the grass, we pressure walk the sidewalk, because it really is in our front yard. So what I'm asking you tonight is if you will consider partnering with us again and removing the major public safety issue so that we don't have a child clipped in the street, or that we don't have a drug deal gone bad and one of our people visiting pulls up in the middle of a drug deal going bad and we have somebody severely injured, because all of that ultimately affects our reputation in this city, and it's what drives our tourism and our brand, but it's also just taking care of the people and the residents that live here. So what we want to ask you tonight is if you will agree to relinquish those 9 spots and allow us, our HOA has said, I told you, I think I have 5 board members here tonight. We're all willing to open up our checkbooks. We're not asking the city to do it. We'll partner and do it however you want it to look on that part. But we would like to finish that sidewalk all the way down where it dead ends into our property so that we have a sidewalk all the way down the street. It looks like the neighborhood. And it also helps everyone be able to have a safe access to get out on the sidewalk, push a stroller, not be in the way of any traffic, and they can go all the way to Gulf Shore and hit a sidewalk and go anywhere they want to go. So I feel like, in fairness, to come to you, we need to have a partnership with you. I looked at your strategic plan and printed it off. I think this is great. I'm pretty impressed. And you can tell you're following it and working on it because of everything that's going on in the city. And when you wrote this, you didn't have any idea I was going to be here. But it sort of looks like we aligned with what we're asking for. If you look at your second strategic goal, it says enhance quality of life and safety for families. And that's exactly what we're asking to partner with you today to do. So that is what I'm here asking for. And I also wanted to tell you, I love this plan because over here on these core values, before I finish, it says transparency, teamwork, integrity, professionalism, stewardship, and respect. And I assume y'all wrote that expecting your city and all of you to follow that. And I want you to know I can walk away today and tell you every city person that I have dealt with, and I think there's about 8 of them. I have them all. I feel like I'm communicating. I've made 8 new friends here at the city. Every one of them has jumped over these core values 110%. I can tell you that. And when I started looking at this, I thought, wow, every city person I have dealt with, and that's not council, that's all of these people in Lewis's team, have been incredible to get us to this point. And also when I come back in a couple of months, we are trying to take everything you're trying to do, all of these people that have water issues, we're looking at everything we need to move going forward. Charlie has been working with Joe Bodie and Ryan on our plans as we come back to you for gates and fencing. We're trying to do exactly the way you want us to make it a healthy partnership. So I want you to know that, and I think I can speak on behalf of all of our crew. We are appreciative of what is happening in Destin. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Hold up, just in case. Councilman Stevens.
I move to request city manager work with the applicant and staff to move forward to permit the project for the removal of the public parking spaces and work towards installation of the right-of-way sidewalk, roadside swell, landscaping, fence, and gates through the appropriate processes and procedures.
I second that motion.
All right, I have a motion, a second. I got a couple up. Councilman Guile.
Yes, thank you. I do see there were 27 responses. 20 of those want the removal, 7 don't want the removal of those parking spots. One thing that I would like to request is that we develop some type of costing for all of this and a plan for maintenance. Who's going to be responsible for the maintenance moving forward? Because I don't think we should subsidize this with all the taxpayers in Destin to handle that area of 9 parking spots. But if that plan's moving forward, that would be my request, is that we have a financial plan moving forward on all the costs associated with performing the action and maintaining in the future.
All right, thank you, sir. Up next, Councilwoman Hebert.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Guile, I think that's exactly what the Homeowners Association president said. It wouldn't cost us, the city or the citizens of Destin, anything. They want to take it on. They want it to be done, and they're going to basically do it the way the city wants it done with our staff's assistance. They're helping them process how the road looks, how the gates are done, how the swells are set up. So I feel like this is all being done very copacetically with what we would want done if we were paying for it, but it's coming out of their pockets because it's their homeowners association and it's their fix.
Well, I did hear that part, but the maintenance, the future maintenance, this HOA does change. HOA presidents change. When costs incur, people change their minds, decide they don't want to maintain what previous presidents decided. So that's why I want the plan to incorporate future preservation as well.
All right.
Okay, great. That was good. And the other reason why pressed it, I was going to make the motion to get it on. Thank you.
Right, Councilman Bagby.
Yeah, a couple of points. Number one, I don't know if we have somebody that wants to talk. I don't know if that's against or not. This is kind of, we're not even following our own procedures because we don't have presentations made, during the city manager's time, usually other than by the staff. So I don't know if she wants to speak against it, but I would say we ought to let her speak because we let the pro side speak for, 10 minutes. And for transparency, we ought to let, not everybody come up and say, yes, I'm for it, I'm for it, I'm for it, I'm against it. But we ought to hear whatever else. I don't even know what the heck she wants to say, but she's been standing up back there for about 15 minutes, so.
All right, let me get through and absolutely.
And then the second thing is I'm okay with the motion right up into move forward to permit the project for the removal of the public parking spaces, period. That's what they're here for tonight. That's what they told us they're asking for. I'm not good with the rest of that motion because that would send a signal that we've already made a determination that we're going to agree with that. And I'm not sure we have made a determination that we're going to move with that. So I would ask that you amend your motion to just move to request the city manager to work with the applicant and staff to move forward with the permit the project for the removal of the public parking spaces. Because that's what they're asking for tonight. And leave the rest of it for,
for future discussion.
For a future session, because anybody can work with the staff anybody in this city can work with the staff on a proposed project. And I'm not willing to signal that, yeah, because I want to hear more about the vacation, where the fences are going. We don't need that in a motion for what we're considering tonight.
Well, I'll add one thing. I didn't hear the motion because I stepped out of the room for a minute, but we can't do a vacate without going through our process and our ordinance anyway. So if that was part of the motion, it would have to come out.
That was part of the motion.
Okay, then I'll change my motion.
The motion had nothing to do with the vacation of right-of-way. The motion is just to remove the 9 parking spaces.
No, that's not what is.
That's not what I made the motion for.
That's not what he said. Okay.
So I will change my motion to where it ends at the 9 parking spots.
And then, Mr. Mayor, before we go further, I would ask that we let the lady speak that's been standing up.
All right, and is the second okay with the amended?
I'm okay with it.
All right, with that, I'm going to go Councilman Destin.
Thank you, Mayor, and I was going to go along that train of thought. There are statutory requirements that we must fulfill to abandon any piece of property. We have to determine that it has no public use, nor will it ever have public use. Public hearings, there's a lot that we go through, so that to even insinuate that we're going in that direction in any of this, which it appears it may insinuate, although it doesn't say, gives me some heartburn. So I'm comfortable with voting on the 9 spaces, but we need to leave it at that.
All right, I got one last council member, and then I'll bring her up. Councilman Schmidt.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for presenting. You did a very good job. Just a couple questions. I'm a little confused where we just landed as well. But the original motion was to remove the public parking spaces, and some other stuff. But first question, Ryan or staff, is, if we go remove our public parking spaces, what do we do? What is that process like?
They will submit for a permit. And then
We would?
No, the Dolphin Point HOA will submit for a right-of-way permit, and it'll be removing the 9 spaces and extending the sidewalk to their property, putting in the landscaping, and putting in the roadside swale where the 9 spaces were.
Right, but to do all of that, the city of Destin's not going to go out and remove the parking spaces.
No.
And then they're going to come in and do something.
No, this is all Dolphin Point HOA.
Right, so then the whole intent of this, when we're saying to move forward with the permit, the project for the removal of the public parking spaces, I guess I'm confused of, if we're not going to go out there tomorrow with tractors and start removing them, then why are we even talking about it?
Because we want council's blessing to remove
To work with
9
them?
parking spaces, yes.
Right.
That's part of the permit process.
I'm sorry, I'm just a little slower tonight, but, so if we're not going to remove them, you just said that. But there are spots. So don't we have to remove them because there's City of Destin spots?
No, as part of the right-of-way permit process, it can be included in the construction plans to have that removed as part of Dolphin Point's plan.
And Dolphin Point puts a permit request to do something on our property.
Yeah, we get right-of-way permits all the time.
Say that again?
We get right-of-way permits all the time.
Got it. And then when that comes, we would be vacating a right-of-way.
No, we're not vacating the right-of-way as part of this.
Gotcha.
So if the parking spots are removed, it will still remain city right-of-way and city public property, okay?
Gotcha, thank you.
So then, if the HOA wants to have the right-of-way vacated, they would have to come back, that we have a whole application process. It actually goes to the LPA first. We do an ordinance that comes to council. There are public hearings where everybody gets to speak on it, and that is not on the agenda for tonight. Tonight, the HOA has requested that 9 public parking spaces be removed. And isn't there also an ask about the sidewalk, Ryan?
Well, by removing those spaces, to replace those spaces, it was with the sidewalk, a swale, and some landscaping.
Okay, I just wanted council to be clear on what happens when the parking spaces get removed, if that is approved.
So, thank you. So we get these permit requests all the time. So an individual, entity, corporation, whatever, wants to take and do something to our property, they're paying for it. That's how this would work?
Yes.
Gotcha. So, I mean, to me, then if you're about to start that process, I would hope that the permit process talks about the sidewalk and the swells and landscaping. So I just want to be clear now, going back a little bit to when we amended the motion, rather than just remove the public parking space. I don't want to leave that other stuff off if you're not going to be allowed to like talk about that as well.
Well,
If we ended it
ultimately,
public, I just want to make sure.
what the way you amended the motion was to request the city manager work with the applicant and staff to move forward to permit the project for the removal of public parking spaces. That's it, right?
Okay.
So, part of that permit process to remove it would be to be putting the rest of that stuff in there.
Okay, thank you for the walkthrough there. Appreciate it.
All right, then seeing that we've got extra ones on there now, at any time, if there's anyone's in opposition of this, the floor for any opposition, come on down.
Just kidding. It's just fun.
All right,
Carrie Harburger, Spring Lane, Destin. Let me say that if we want to go back in time, we did a lot for those parking spaces. They had to surrender those. Those are part of an impact that we as citizens took. I heard that whole dissertation, and I'm not disagreeing, but let me just tell you guys that not only does Holiday Isle get our sheriff's office through the city, they have extra duty details that cover their area 24/7. They have sheriffs, they contract it through their fees and their HOAs. Those are our spaces too. And if there's that much crime, sex trafficking and drug trafficking going there, where's the sheriff's office? Somebody's not doing their job because we got citizens calling code compliance for sex trafficking. That's a problem. I am going to beg this council not to give up our parking. It means something to some of us. We fought for many years, and to think that the city of Destin would give up any parking that is as golden as any access for the locals, let's work it out. Maybe we need to get more the sheriff's office on board, but don't penalize the regular citizens because there's problems out there, because there are many of us that use that. And I haven't seen all those problems, and I'm not saying that there's not, but we have a way to handle it. We pay for it, we contract them, and they double contract them. I don't see taking anything. I think it's a disaster taking anything from the people, any access to the waterway, but that's just my opinion.
Thank you, Carrie. All right, anyone else in opposition? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council. Up next, Councilman King.
Thank you, sir. I'm just curious. I noticed we got a lot of emails for the removal. We got several emails for the opposition. I'm curious to know what were the origins. What were the origins of these 9 spots? Does anybody have the history on that? I know that we were not even a city when they were put in, maybe, but what are they there for? I mean, I realize that there is no public park or no public beach access close to there. But
So I spoke with Mr. Destin before, just to try to get some history. I don't know if you want to speak on it or you want me to just speak about what we talked about. Okay, so.
He'll correct you. Don't worry, he'll correct you.
So this project was built before the city was a city. So we did a records request with the county and they didn't have any records. One rumor that I heard was that there were plans when Dolphin Point was built to have a park right there, and that just never happened. And those spots might have been for that park. And then Mr. Destin said that maybe that right-of-way originally went all the way to the water instead of stopping where it's at now, so that was parking to access water. So those are the two things that I've heard. Don't have any evidence of either one.
And I can't fill any more detail in. My uncle was the manager of Dolphin Point in the early 70s, and I can't remember why in the world those were left there, other than the fact that we had an awful lot of public parking on Holiday Isle, parallel parking along the road. There was parking everywhere. There were actually 2 or 3 beach accesses that went from the road to the Gulf, and the county and we consistently abandoned those. And at some point, I think these just weren't abandoned. Now, you know, the point they make about them being a long ways from any public use, that's a valid point, and probably is the hinge for me right now, because the reasons that we should close these parking spaces that they reiterated tonight are the exact same reasons I heard of why we should close the parking spaces at the end of the road that are near the public 1,500 feet. The difference being that those are in fact near the public. And so, you know, my one question that I wanted to ask is, the motion says direct the staff, city manager, to work with Dolphin Point to get the permit in motion to abandon those public ones. And does that mean that that permit will go forward without ever coming back for review at all? Because we had an awful lot of folks, 7 or 8, who publicly said they didn't like this idea. You know, I understand the Dolphin Point folks, and I'd like to hear, you know, the debate on why it is for the best of the public good. They may well be able to win that. By going forward with this motion tonight, do we not see this again at all?
Well, you certainly can direct us to bring it back to you if you wish.
I do have a question, though. Do we know, Ryan, why this couldn't be done at the same time as the right-of-way vacate, which has the public hearings? Like, was there a time issue for the association, or?
So yeah, we talked about that, and they want to get the property secured as fast as possible. And the vacation of right-of-way process is a long, drawn-out process, so they wanted to separate those two out.
Mainly because of summer. We're trying to stop the illegal pontoon boats. Is that basically from what I saw?
One of many, yes.
All right, Councilman King, jump back
So
in.
my next point, thank you, sir. That was gonna be my next point, was how do we, you know, what do we do for the people who oppose this? I mean, there were several emails that, you know, there's townhomes directly across the street. You know, everybody's apparently using them. I get it. I understand they're using them for all this other illicit stuff, but, you know, what are the rest of the owners in the area losing by us vacating these? And is there anybody from the opposition here tonight?
Besides Gary.
Kerry was here. But,
Aside from, I'm talking about people that live over there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Part of the issue is that a right-of-way vacation is advertised so that, you know, the public
deal.
sees it in the paper, but this hasn't been, so if that's an issue, then it can be wrapped up in the right-of-way vacation.
And you would think that that would be the logical progression. If we abandon the right-of-way, then they can do whatever they want with it. So all of this other preliminary stuff is not necessary at all, except that it speeds up the ability to remove the parking.
Right. You looking for an answer, or is that?
Yeah, I just didn't know if anybody.
I don't want to
if there
dismiss
was-
that.
If there was anyone else, we got emails from people who live across the street from this public parking, and
I mean, let me get through everyone, and then on that specific.
yeah, and it's the fact that we're talking about getting rid of parking that we have seems like, I understand. Don't get me wrong, But it seems crazy that we would just like throw away parking that we have with the parking issues we have in this town.
All right, so if you can answer Councilman King's question, yeah, please take the floor. Hold up.
I know that our neighbors that are next door at Point South, the 6 emails were from Point South owners. And actually, one showed up the night that we had to cancel the meeting, and I did talk to him later, and I've talked with their HOA president since. Where they sit on their property, they have no visual to the 9 parking places, so they are blocked visually, and there are only 8 owners there. They have no renters, there are 8 owners, and only one person lives there year-round. So I think once they sort of realized, when I talked to 3 of them, I said, hey, our goal is not to make an enemy out of our neighbors. I think you need to always be friends with your neighbors. And I think they were unaware. It was more of they have no clue. It's out of sight, out of mind for them. So they do not know what is going on out there. We did ask, I did clarify, they have 8 units there and they have 16 parking places. So they have 2 per person, and they have adequate parking. They said they like to use it sometimes for their overflow or so they can bring a golf cart in and put a car out there in the daytime. But when I ask you, I have to outweigh and look at the difference. Are we looking at luxury and convenience for our neighbors to have extra golf carts and extra cars? We limit our owners as well for parking in our parking place and are held to engineering standards and how many places we have, as are they. And they have even said theirs is strictly a luxury and convenience. But when it comes to the safety, a couple of them, and that may be why they're not here tonight, after we talked about it, they said, you know what? They said the safety issue is not worth us parking someone over there. And it's usually friends or neighbors, which also puts their friends and neighbors at the same risk it does for us. And I do believe I gave you all, I didn't mention it, but you were all given a copy of the last 4 years of the sheriff reports, and I highlighted every sheriff call made to our property over the last 4 years in that report that you have. And in 22 and in 23, over 50% of the calls made to the sheriff to our property involve those public parking places. And this year we're on track to have more than that. And I have to disagree. I think that our sheriffs that are here, they are maxed out. We are managing a body of water and a 4-lane highway and a vacation area. And I do not feel like they can manage 9 parking places. But when you look at our calls on that sheet, it's lit up like a Christmas tree for calls that have been made. And if you look, most of them are late at night and they are for mischief and nuisance. So, and I think I shared that with I sent all of this copy to our neighbors next door. And that HOA president, I sent that to him, and we've tried to partner with them to help them share our cameras for safety. And then one of your letters, that is in favor, that is the next condo next to us, Laguna Point. That is their HOA president, and she wrote a letter speaking for all of their owners that they did not want the public parking either.
All right, thank you.
So, thank you.
Councilman Bagby?
Yeah. And I don't doubt what you just said, but to me, that's not relevant to Johnny's question. I'll just be honest with you. I'm okay getting rid of the 9 parking spots because there are 9 parking spots that are 1.5 miles from any public beach access or whatever. I probably won't be in favor of the vacation, but I'll let it go through the process just because I think, this is the second time since I've been up here, y'all have been before us for or it will be the second time y'all have been up here, just in my short time, that y'all have been up here for a vacation. And we gave you the vacation the last time, and I'm just not into giving up public property, to Kevin's point, I think. But the parking spots, it's not for the nuisance. Yeah, I agree, they've got sheriff's deputies, and Holiday Isle Improvement Association has sheriff's deputies, and this is nice. This is 4 years. I will show you my neighborhood, and in a year we have more complaints than that, but we have a lot more vacation renters than y'all probably have. So that didn't really sway. It's just the 9 parking spots don't get us anything. I mean, if they got us something, if we had access to the water at that point, or we had, a bus stop even there where people could park, maybe we need to do a better job, and I'd ask the sheriff to to do that at night, particularly sometime after midnight. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to get it out of there before spring break so that it's gone, so we don't have to worry about delivery. I'm supportive of that. I do agree with Mr. Guile. We need a contract or an agreement, okay, that says you're getting this and you're given that and you're going to maintain it in perpetuity, just like we have maintenance. A lot of these HOAs have maintenance agreements for right-of-way maintenance where they want to, and we encouraged them at one point in this city to, and then we discouraged them, and now we're back to encouraging them, but have a maintenance contract that they will maintain the landscaping out there, and they're glad to do it, at least all the ones that I'm aware of in this city. But we need it written down. Who's going to be responsible for what? Who's going to maintain it in perpetuity? And if there's any standards, of course, they have to follow our tree ordinance and all this other stuff. But just, that's why I wanted to just get on the 9 parking spots on the motion tonight, because I'm okay with that. The whole, gating, they can gate and fence all they want on their property, but not into our right-of-way at this point. So, I would like to hear, but the last point I would make, this was a public hearing, not really a hearing, but it was put out on the agenda. It's put out on Facebook. It's put out on the city website. It's put out, if somebody was really opposed to it, that was a neighbor who their grandkids park their cars there when they come over and see grandma and grandpa at one of the neighboring properties, they could have been here tonight and said, hey, we use those parking spots every year to come see grandma and grandpa when we rent a house down somewhere else in Crystal Beach or Walton County or wherever, and we come eat every Sunday with grandma and grandpa, and we park in those spots because they're public parking spots. But nobody's here saying that. So, I guess let's give them get rid of the 9 spots, get an agreement in place where they pay to remove them and landscape it and maintain the landscape, and let's move on.
Yeah.
Councilman Schmidt.
Yeah. Ma'am, I have a couple of questions if you don't mind.
By the way, I'll get you a contract. John Townsend, our lead counsel, he'll do it tomorrow.
The one day.
Yes.
The one day big picture item, are you saying that there's going to be a gate or a fence on Merino Point on that first building to prevent people from pulling in there?
There will be a gate.
There's 3 buildings on your property.
Yes,
right?
there'll be a gate. Charlie Clary is working on that. And I really, these are 2 very separate issues. I think that it's clouding the issue. I'll blame our new city manager over there. But I think the reason being that he wanted me in front of you is he did not want me to be here tonight for the 9 public parking and then show up a month from now where we're trying to vacate a portion of our property that touches city property. It's about 50 feet. It's not that much. Maybe I'll be able to convince you.
Right, but for transparency's sake.
Yes, and that's why that is exactly why we're here tonight.
Is your
yes,
big
and to be transparent.
Is your big picture goal to only put the gate where that little honeycomb mesh stuff is on our agenda, or are you going to have
Can you
one
put
on
that back
Merino
up?
Point?
Put the map back up.
Well, the way Dolphin Point is structured, and I guess we can get some of these questions out if I've got to show back up in a month or 2, depends on how quick we get the vacating done. The way the property sits, it will require us to have a gate entry into our A building that will set back on our property. Can
A
you
building
show
is
them?
left or right?
Is the A building the very first one?
The front or the
Right
back?
there?
Going back there to point it out.
Oh, Ryan is going to point it out
Can you
first.
hear me?
Oh, wow, I can see better this way. Wow.
A brand new TV.
Charlie, you should be doing this. Can you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me now?
And I do think someone spoke to that. I believe it was you, Councilman Bagby, that said we could gate and fence anything on our property. And all of this that we are looking to gate and fence is our property, but we are also trying to really work closely with your whole team and all of the water drainage. And that is what we have Charlie Clary for and Laserscapes.
Okay. So, one thing Charlie and I have been talking about is trying to get a gate right here And then if you can pull that down a little bit, right now, if the vacation right away went through and it got vacated, the next gate.
Ryan, I don't think you're on.
The next gate would be like right here. If the vacation right away doesn't happen, then the gate would have to be right there.
Thank you.
And then these spaces would be.
Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Do you guys have any security through your HOA?
You know what? We have been trying to. Last year, we went through all of this, and we hired off-duty, I guess they cannot carry a weapon, and they're just hired security. And it was a total waste of money. It was trying to keep employees. They didn't show up at night. They didn't want to work. It was just disaster. So then we went with the off-duty sheriff's program, and that has put a huge dent in our budget. It made a huge difference during the summer when we would have them at that entry point, and it kept people from trespassing in and out of the property. But this year, not that I mind giving our sheriffs that are back there too, and all of our sheriff and law enforcement a raise, but they doubled their fees this year. And then they have all these additional fees. And it also requires, as an HOA, when we book sheriffs for weekends, we have to pay all of that money up front. They take all the money up front plus fees, plus their fee has gone from, I believe, 27 an hour to 48. It's a drain on our budget, just like it would be on the city's budget.
So last comment, and I'm also not opposed to removing spaces because, there is nothing near there that public needs public spaces for. We do have a parking problem in Destin, sure, but I'm not, I went down Dolphin Point for years as a kid, and people that lived there and played in tennis courts, and you park in there. But I don't see myself going down there and using that and then walking a mile to the beach. What I would say in my comment to you and your other owners is I would prefer you be cautious in the presentation of how you're portraying some stuff, because to me, you're trying to point the finger specifically on these spaces and livery vessels and drug usage. Mm-hmm. And until you can show photos and videos of people coming from that space to doing sexual acts in that space and doing the drugs, maybe you have that, that's fine. But I just would, I like removing the spaces, but some of these pictures on your presentation aren't even livery vessels. So I would be just a little cautious moving forward.
Well, I'm not sure who they were then. They were not invited owners on our property.
I hear you. I'm just saying that you have a lot of open parking spaces with no gate, with no security. Mm-hmm.
And we're doing our best. That is where we're trying.
But there's a possibility that people are parking on your property and then doing the same thing, not just the public spaces. That's all I'm saying. So I would just, let's get rid of the public spaces because they're not needed.
Well, so we're getting ready to lock that down as best we can. And we can also, what we're doing now is we have a contract with a towing company, and we have put all of our owners on decals.
That's fine. But just, that's my opinion and comments is the information being presented is a little slanted, unfortunately, to me.
Well, we're going as fast as we can to get us secured, I promise.
Councilman Gao.
Okay. I've been doing a little bit of research on property appraisers since this started, just so that everybody up here understands. I researched all the no's. None of them are homesteaded. 2 are from Georgia, 1 from Alabama, 3 from Texas, 1 from Colorado. That leads me to believe that the spaces are being utilized for short-term rentals. If we are planning to get rid of them, I understand. If we're planning not, I just have a question for city staff. Can we make that paid parking? Can we charge $60 a day?
But those owners, Councilman, those owners that you looked at are the ones I'm talking about. They are non-rental units next door to us. Those 8 units and the 8 people or the 6 that wrote the letters at Point South, those are non-rentals. So all of those homesteads you just listed, they do not rent their units. So they come down occasionally.
Well, that still doesn't answer my question. My question is directed to the city manager. Can we convert that to paid parking?
You certainly can. It's to your discretion. Again, we have.
I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt, but I don't think you're right, Mr. City Manager. I'd ask the county or the city attorney for us to convert those. We would have to bring them in compliance with parking and they would have to be 19 feet long. They would have to meet our minimum standards in our code, okay? Which I know we're rewriting, but we're not going to rewrite it to 16 feet. So I don't think we could convert those. We might convert it into 3 parallel parking spots, but, you know, I understand and I appreciate anything that generates revenue for this city, trust me. But that is, no, that's a hard no to me unless we go right up to the right-of-way line, and then that might be, I don't know, Brian, is that 19 feet from the right-of-way line?
No, the parking abuts the right-of-way line
Oh,
right
it
now.
does?
Yeah.
Then, Mr. City Manager, I would say you might want to ask the city attorney to opine on whether we can do parking spots, paid parking spots in the city that don't meet our own code.
You interrupted me before I finished my response. I was going to say, subject to us making those improvements to make sure that they meet city code.
All right. Councilwoman Aber.
I just wanted to be on the record that I feel like we're dragging this out and we're making this into, we're trying to find out about these 9 spaces. We figured out that the 8 people that complained are pretty much back on board with what's going on. And I feel like we should just move forward and let this happen, because if you do go down there and you see all the pontoon boats, you can see in the photos they provided, Mr. Schmidt, people crawling over the fencing to get onto the pontoon boats. They're obviously loaded up with stuff, and they've come from those cars, which are also right there. So I feel like they've done a really good job trying to give us as much information at this meeting until they come back in a month from now. And I feel like we should move forward and let this process begin.
Councilman Bagby.
I was just going to say that it's probably time to call the question unless we only have one more. I mean,
Nope, you're the last one.
Yep.
Yep. All right. So I'll call.
Can you reread the motion?
Thanks, Ray. Do that.
For the city manager to work with the applicant and staff to move forward to permit the project for the removal of the public parking spaces.
To permit the project.
Does that include any contract that we're discussing or no?
I want to amend my motion to include an agreement. I won't use the word contract, but to include an agreement for installation and maintenance in perpetuity.
All right, the original motion, are you?
So, to clarify, is that something that council expects to come back to them, or for staff to?
Yeah, that was my last. We want it to come back, or are we
It has
with
to
the
for
contract?
us to approve the
So with that
language.
contract, yes.
I mean,
Mr.
but I
Mayor?
don't think we need the whole cast of characters. That's something you could bring back at the next meeting. I mean, John will have it drafted
Ray?
tomorrow.
Okay. Councilmember Stevens is accepting that?
That's what I'm asking him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll accept those amendments.
All right. Councilwoman Aber with the motion?
Accepted.
All right, we got a motion to amend the original motion. All right, I'll call the vote. All right, ayes have it, so moved. We're moving along.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you, guys.
Move it on.
All right. All right. All right. Congratulations. All right. City Manager.
Thank you. The next item is an update on our efforts to address the permitting software challenges that we'll be having in the city.
Are you guys leaving? All right. Yeah, hold.
Can
Yeah,
we
hold on.
take a
So-
5-minute break?
Yeah, so if you guys are leaving, let's take
Yeah.
a 5, let everyone wrap.
Some of us have been here since 4:30, you know?
I've had my cup of coffee.
Yeah, I know. Well, those of us who've been here.
Father's Day.
We have a quorum. I will call this meeting back to order. Take it away.
All right. Good evening, Council. Andy Peters, IT Director again, up here to talk about our software needs. So the reason I'm here tonight is because hopefully at the next meeting, would like to come to you with a proposed contract from an alternative vendor to replace our EnerGov permitting and licensing system. I need to read just a couple of facts into your memory really fast. As you know, the contract with Tyler Technologies runs about $100,000 a year, but that ongoing issues have been faced, and that in March 2023, just before I arrived to work with you, the city invested an additional $80,000 in the program called the Tyler Assist Program, which was to give us access to their Tiger teams and their best people to help us with our problems, configure, and training. Issues continued, and so in December I came to talk to you again, and the council voted to proceed away from Tyler Technologies if they didn't get their stuff straight, their act together. We also then the next month at your request reviewed the entire IT ecosystem on how these pieces fit together. That funny little puzzle piece heat map thing I had done for you. And then in February this year, Tyler sent their top folks out to take a look at our setup and what we were doing to help us out, to help us all get out of this mess. So that's kind of what you know so far, and the update now is that a person named Andrew Baer from Tyler Technologies came to visit us February 7th through the 9th. And February 23rd, we received a report from him, which is in the packet, and I can summarize it very simply for you. It just said that if Destin were to receive an additional 16 days of on-site training, then all of our problems would go away and everything would be solved. And then the next month, on March 1st, I received a bill on my desk for $84,000 to renew the Tyler Assist program for another year. That is probably one of the biggest reasons why I'm here talking about it, because we had discussed at one time that we would do some in-house work to get a replacement system going, but we're looking at 2 years to develop that. If we have to pay for this Tyler Assist program every year, then the effective cost of the system rises from $100,000 to $180,000. It's just not feasible. As soon as we discovered that, we began meeting with alternative vendors, and we've met with a large stack of them, and in fact, we're still initiating new conversations with some of them. So the next question is, well, you know, if it takes 8 months to get a new vendor in here, how do we choose one that's right for Destin? How do we get someone that is going to meet our needs this time, as opposed to whatever happened last time, where we had a software vendor that just simply can't supply what we need and what we ask for. So just to close this little briefing out, what I'm going to do, what I'm recommending that we do, is in the software world, just called a user acceptance study or a user test, where we take members of the public that are from our community and anyone else that council would also like to have participate. We give them access to the sandbox environment of the 1 or 2 top vendors who we've chosen, and let them tell us what they think. Let them make sure that they can do the simple things like log in, log out, get a new password set. It seems like simple stuff, but it's the stuff that our current EnerGov system's having problems with. Once that user test comes back, I think we'll be in a good position to have a data-driven decision that you can consider on a new vendor. We've kind of identified a couple of new vendors today as top tier. We have Civic Plus and OpenGov as finalists, although I would like to keep the kind of like to keep the door open for adding a third one or removing one, depending on their behavior in this process, because we need a vendor that's going to do what we ask and serve us well. We also did, Mr. Zunguzi met with Tyler Tech's CEO and explained to them the difficult time that we had with the Tyler Assist program and the argument that, hey, if 16 days of on-site training are what's needed, then what was the $80,000 in Tyler Assist program for? And from that, we've gotten some concessions that have helped us make that program continue at no cost. That is pretty much the end of my report today, except for that as things are progressing, the finance office is also pretty much chomping at the bit to get their stuff rolling too. They are having significant problems with their Tyler products, and it's a good time to look and see if we have the bandwidth to maybe just pull the Band-Aid off and get it all done at once. So that's the current thinking, and I'm open to your ideas or suggestions.
You said Civic Plus and what was the second option?
Right now we have on the agenda, it's written Civic Plus and OpenGov.
OpenGov, okay.
I would also like to look at a company called MGO. It's actually not a company, it's a cooperative. Louisiana Hallman's, City of Hallman's building department who actually runs a program that we can jump on. Those three would be kind of our top finalists.
All right. Any discussions or motion? I believe Fort Walton Beach has Civic Plus.
Fort Walton Beach has MGO, which is the one I just mentioned, for permitting and licensing. They do use Civic Plus for their website and a couple of other things. Many of their puzzle pieces overlap and mismatch compared to us.
Gotcha, okay.
I would like to move to staff, make a motion to move staff to conduct user acceptance studies recommended and return with a proposal from a community development software platform that meets the needs and budget of our community and provide an implementation timeline for council review.
Second.
All right, Councilman Stevens.
All right, got a couple quick questions. With the sandbox, are all these vendors that you're going to be testing, are they going to have access to the sandbox for us, or?
It's an excellent question. Civic Plus's community development team has committed to a sandbox, and I have access to that already. OpenGov has actually, up to this point, refused to give me that sandbox. They've given me some alternatives. And I spoke with MGO this afternoon, and they seemed that they would be able to supply that for us.
Okay. And then next question, when are we planning on going live with all this stuff? What's the process? How long is it going to take? Are we going to be ready when it's BTR season?
We will not be ready this BTR season. That's one of the reasons we're bringing this forward now and recommending a piggyback instead of a full RFP and that kind of thing. We need to, it's going to take about 8 months to get someone new rolled into place.
Okay, great.
Councilman Gao?
Thank you. One thing I'm just informational for council. I pulled permits in St. John County, Lee County. When I talked to their building department about their softwares, they mentioned that they had in-house IT that made several adjustments, that their softwares were nightmares beforehand. So I have a feeling that any softwares that we've dealt with or that I've dealt with in the past, that there's always had to be some in-house modification to make it work effectively and efficiently. The other thing I want to mention is that I was on the conference call with Civic Plus with Andy and this elite group, and I was pretty impressed with the information that they provided. I haven't had the chance to do the sandbox at this point, but I have complete faith in Andy, especially the way he handled that and conducted himself during the interview, the questions he asked them, and how accountable he made them with the questions he presented. So I have complete faith in Andy in making this decision for us.
All right, seeing no further discussions, I will call the vote.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
In our last meeting, you requested a an update on the crosstown connector. We have that update for you, as well as the options available for you to proceed.
All right, I'm going to try to keep this very straightforward and simple. So essentially there's three options. All three options tonight directly affect funding for construction. So option A is take no option. We'll get the permits, and then we'll have to self-fund all of the construction. Option B is to have an EIR updated. That's a $110,000 change order with Atkins, and that's going to take about 8 months. That will unlock the ability to get state grants, state funding to help fund the construction. And we currently have two irons in the fire working towards trying to get some state grants that total about $5 million. So without option B, those would go away. And then option C is to redo the whole thing. It's about a 24-month process, redoing the entire PD&E study, and that will open the option for state and federal grants. Now federal, we don't have any irons in the fire. Obviously, if we are trying to go for federal grants, there's a bigger competition pool there. So staff is recommending option B to get the Atkins change order signed and start the 8-month process to redo that. And I have Atkins here to answer any questions, and then we also obviously have Jeff and Crystal for financing and grants.
All right, Councilman Bagby?
I move to direct the city manager to have staff move forward with PD&E reevaluation option B, and for the city finance director to bring back at the next meeting her proposal where that $110,000 is coming from.
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion and second. Jeff?
Could you clarify if that's an EIR update or a PD&E? B.
B is the EIR.
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 All right, Councilman Destin?
Just one question. If we were to self-fund now with the money we have on hand, how much money are we short?
So we estimate the construction to be $10 million.
We would be 10 million
And we're short, we have nearly 5 million saved up and awarded in the TDC grant. Between the TDC grant and impact fees, road impact fees we have on hand, we're short $5 million.
4 or 5? I'm sorry, couldn't.
5 million.
5. Have we looked at all on the possibility of modifying what we're doing? I know the two roundabouts, if they turned into four-way stops, I'm just curious about how much money we could save. Could we get to the point where we could build the thing and start and get it done if we did some modifications on the design, and what modification would we have to do?
So I don't think you can correct me if I'm wrong, the design of the roundabouts is slowing anything down. We still need to get a Northwest Florida Water Management District permit. We were, per the Northwest Florida Water Management District's recommendation, waiting till we figured out if we're doing PDE, EIR, like which option we're doing before they submit. But at this point, with some state legislation that's changed, we need to get submitted now so we're locked into the old rules and not have to redesign for the new rules. That'll take effect later this year. Yes, so we will be working towards this week to submit for the district permit. And that's what's going to be determining this, is the permitting process, getting the permits done.
Well, what kind of appalls me about this whole project, if we've got most of the road in place now, we're essentially building the part through the old campground. And if we can't do that for the amount of money we have, we've got a problem. And it could be modified. Just how long do we keep going and don't build anything when we could build something by just modifying the design a little bit? You know, I'll make a motion later on after this one, which I'll vote for, that we look at how we could go forward and build the crosstown connector with our own money.
Yeah.
So being on the TPO, the $3 million that we're talking about with the state seems to be a pretty good negotiation and partnership at the MPO, TPO level. Obviously, nothing certified until the vote's had. And to your point of knowing where that 110 is coming from next meeting, I can bring you guys an update of if the TPO has approved that. Our meeting is at 3:30 this Thursday. And if that goes through, then we at least know that there's another 3 now in, just as like a point of information. Exactly, and maybe we redesign 2 and just to throw information in there. Yep. All right, so I just wanted to throw that in there as a TPO rep, and other than that.
I will say the most expensive part of the project is the underground stormwater, which was directed to change from soil system to underground, and that's the most expensive part. So there's not really a lot of meat on the bone to shave design off to get costs down that much.
I looked at it pretty closely, and some of the stormwater that's associated with the roundabouts, and if you put in a simple 4-way stops there, we could save quite a lot. But we'll let some professionals look at that for sure before I say something that is incorrect. But it wouldn't hurt to look. And the other strong point is, I like the 4-way stops. We're trying to build a bypass. We're trying to build a crosstown for our neighbors and friends, not a bypass of 98. When you put roundabouts in, that's to accelerate and get cars through. It bothers me to be doing that through the neighborhoods. I know the mayor talked about mailboxes. I counted 41 on Azalea the other day. So we need traffic that can progress through at a leisurely pace that's available for the local people. We don't need to turn that into a bypass for 98.
All right, so I have the motion second, so I'll call the vote. All right, ayes have it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Motion after we get an answer.
All right, Councilman, City Manager.
Yes, as you know, this year we'll be celebrating our 40th anniversary as a city. And along with that, there'll be activities that are planned throughout that effort. We're requesting that if we could use our public parking spaces at the community center as well as the Mala parking lot during those activities to be free. That's a request we're making to City Council.
I'll make a motion to waive the parking fees at the Marler Street parking lot, the Community Center parking lot, and Zerby Street parking lot for the city's 40th birthday celebration, effective 2 p.m. on August 10th, 2024.
I'll second that.
All right, motion is second. Seeing no further discussion, call the vote. All right, ayes have it. All right, back to you.
Next is our update on the operational financial report for the city. Crystal, do you want to cover that for us?
Yeah, so I'll just cover the next 3 items very briefly. The operations financial report, in short, we're on time and on budget. The capital project status report has updates on the current situations for all of the capital projects we have, and we have staff here to answer any questions if you have any. And the TDC monthly report, this is collections through the end of March, and so it shows from October through March, the first 6 months of our fiscal year, and it's slightly above what we collected at this point last year.
All right, Councilman Bagby.
Yeah, just a couple of questions on the year-to-date. We seem to be behind about $1 million or so on our collections of ad valorem taxes. Is there a reason now? Because we're in April. So
No,
most everybody is paid.
No, as I wrote on the cover page of the agenda, we had collected 90% of the taxes. So we're just waiting for the properties that shows the installment plan that are paying in 4 pieces. So this is through February 29th. So there are a lot of properties that will be making big payments in March and in June. But we have 90% accounted for as of the end of February.
We have that many people that pay on the quarterly plan?
There's surprisingly large number of people that pay on the 4 installments to the tax collector.
Yeah, no, because most of them that have mortgages pay. Once a year. Yeah, once a year, yeah. So I just never seen that aberration before. Okay.
Right, Councilman Schmidt?
Yeah, thank you. There's a few items on the capital project status report that I brought to the attention of staff that has been changed with some dates that have been moved out. And so I've asked for city manager to get some information to provide some more details on some of the stuff in Parks and Rec on why things are being moved around. So I look forward to getting it back, and you all will be able to see it too.
All right, thank you so much. All right, seeing no further discussions.
You want to share with us the announcements?
One question on the, I guess, on the TDC report. I thought we were going to address each of them separately, but I guess we're just going to address all three of them together. The TDC report, did we find out if April was for February's collections? Crystal?
Can you repeat your question?
No. You shouldn't be talking to Lisa when we're asking questions. Did we find out whether or not the April number for the TDC was actually for the February collections?
No, sir. I was in briefings till 5 p.m. and I didn't get a hold of them in time.
Okay. So at next meeting, I'd like an answer on that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Announcements, please.
Yeah. Good evening. This Saturday, the city will join forces with several other cities and organizations to host a beach cleanup in honor of Earth Day. Earth Day is actually Monday, April 22nd, but we'll meet on Saturday from 8 to 10 a.m. There's a number of sites available for the beach cleanup, and we'll be doing a heavy focus on Noriego Point. On Friday, April 26th, we'll have a tree planting for Arbor Day at Kel Air South, and we'll be planting an oak tree at 10 a.m. that day. The Destin Library will be closed on Friday, April 26th for the annual Okaloosa County Public Library Cooperative Staff Training Day. And then last, Founders Day will be held at the Community Center on Saturday, May 4th at 11 a.m. Invites to the event are in the mail, and Mr. Belcher was here earlier and shared with us that the 90th birthday of the post office will also be that day. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, any final announcements from your end?
No, that's all we have for you.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. All right.
Mayor, if I could have a moment, please.
Sure.
Jason Fulgham, Sheriff's Office. I just wanted to bring up that, many of you all already know, but a lot of the public don't. Calls to service don't necessarily equal crimes that are being committed. For instance, they were talking about how many calls to service they had down there over the last 4-year period. If they hire someone to do an off-duty detail, that's going to be a call to service, just that person being there. So, and also you have, security checks, any number of things. I did some number crunching just so that I could speak to it, and they had 105 calls to service this year at Dolphin Point. There were 5 reports taken out of those 105 calls to service. 1 report was found property, 2 burglaries, 1 criminal mischief, and 1 theft. They did see what they believe to be a drug transaction taking place down there. Deputy Self is going to work with them to get some camera footage and to try to find out what's going on. The drug transaction that they witnessed down there last year, we arrested the person. I just wanted to put that out there just so folks know, we are doing our job.
Thank you, Captain.
Was that drug?
And as far as the off-duty detail stuff goes, there was an increase. Our off-duty detail program was not working well in the way that we had it, operating it in-house. So we had to reach to an outside company to manage it for us, and that caused an 8% increase in fees that's being paid to that company. So currently, you're having to pay $42.12 an hour for an off-duty deputy. The upside of that is, prior to that taking place, we were not getting many of our off-duty details filled since we changed over to that company the majority of our off-duty details have been filled. And the majority of that reason is because we went from where it was a minimum of paying the deputy for 2 hours to having to pay for 4 hours whenever they come out. And we all know the traffic issue that we face here in Destin. Most of the off-duty details are in Destin or on Okaloosa Island. Most of our deputies live in the north end of the county, and it's just not worth it for them to drive from Crestview to Destin just to work a 2-hour detail. So increasing those to 4 hours increase the coverage that we've got.
Right, thank you. Councilman
Thank you.
Guile?
Captain, quick question. She mentioned sex trafficking. Any of that information, did you guys?
I saw one call where they called about a sexual offender, but it was unfounded when it was coded out. I'm not sure. I didn't see. And again, you got to understand, I'm crunching through numbers sitting here trying to listen and trying to look on the telephone to find them. So I may have overlooked something in those 105 calls, but I didn't see anything other than that one call that was sex related.
All right, thank you, Captain. All right, seeing no public comment or public hearings, we will move on to the council. So Councilman Stevens, anything?
I have nothing.
Councilman Guile?
I have a bunch. No, I don't. I just wanted to see Jim wince a little bit over there in his chair. Wednesday is surgery. They're telling me it's for sure this time, no postponement, so I may not be here the next council meeting. I'll make every effort to be here, and I won't bore you with any more information tonight. Have a good day.
All right, we wish you the best. Councilman Destin?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
All right, Bagby?
And I do have a lot. Thank you. First of all, I want to congratulate Lewis on becoming our new city manager. My first question at the next meeting will be about the LDC rewrite that is already a year and a half behind schedule, okay? So over 3 years, we've been working on that project, and it's going to be 3.5, 4 years when we get done. And so now you own it, not just as the community development director, but as the city manager. My next point is to, yes, there she is, Miss Jamie. Do we still have an assistant city manager position on the books?
Yes, that's still a budgeted position, but we decided to wait until we filled the city manager
Okay, well,
position.
we now have a city manager, so I would suggest tomorrow morning, first thing you get with him and see what our plan is. I actually like the plan that Mr. Destin and you came up with, because you got us 3 great candidates for this position, and Lewis is going to need some help, particularly till we get through with this LDC rewrite. And then just for everyone's awareness, I got notified that Dr. Stevenson at Northwest Florida State College has accepted the job at Florida Polytechnic. And he has been a good friend, a great friend to the city of Destin and a lot of the entities that we have done. I wish him well. I'm sure we all wish him well. And he will be sorely missed because he has been a major plus for this community. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you for that. Man, I did not know that. To try not to embarrass him, I always called him my spirit animal. So, no, he's been a huge help, and he'll get that. But no, he's turned that college around 180, and it benefits this whole community. So he will absolutely be missed, but I'm sure he's going to be a golden position wherever he goes. So, Councilwoman Neighbor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one thing, I just want to congratulate Lewis. Happy to have you as our permanent city manager, and I know you'll do great. You got lots of wonderful accolades from our citizens that have appreciated your hard work over the last few months. Now that you're the city manager, look forward to you taking care of some more issues for us. So thank you, Lewis. That's all I got, Mayor.
Councilman King.
Yep, congratulations, Lewis. I think, in the interview process and the, internal deliberating, I think, we're really grateful that it's you. I think the other guys were very impressive as well. So hats off to them, but congratulations. Just one quick thing, something to take away from this meeting. I used to live over there where, around Snapper and Overstreet and all that. And I don't ever recall there being real bad flooding, but I was curious, does any of our, recent stormwater projects? Is that what's causing that? Do we have any evidence as to what's causing it? 'Cause I don't ever remember seeing that.
Well, I can speak to that. We just completed a project over there on Juanita Avenue a few months ago. That was replacing some corrugated metal pipe that had begun to fail. Public Works staff recently installed 3 swale systems at the intersection of Juanita, Kelly, and Snapper to kind of mitigate some of that. Now, what the gentleman said was accurate, that he had collected 5.5 inches within a 45-minute. That storm frequency is just off the charts. So that is just such an intense event, you can't design for that. And we've had some other issues that, what was it, last Wednesday, I think, or Thursday? I can't remember which day it was. They all kind of run together. But we only had 2 other reports of some drainage issues. Both were on 98. I did ride by Mr. Napier's house at the time, and the brand new inlet was just working like a champ, taking that water out to the bay. And like I said, I can confirm that he did have some standing water in his front yard. So it was a very intense storm. I mean, schools let out early. People got off work early. I mean, it was an event. So, but it's not anything that we would have designed to.
Yeah, I had water almost up to my front door. My wife was getting nervous. I got pictures of it if you want to see it and come fix my problems. I'm just kidding, and I don't mean to make light of the storm. Yeah, I don't mean to make light of it, but that was a bad storm, and it was bad in my house too. So, all right, thanks.
On that, from a measuring standpoint, what was that storm? Obviously, it's not a. What would we measure that storm to be as far as our standards, Ryan?
I don't have exact numbers, but if that was true, 5.5 inches in 45 minutes, a 100-year storm event is 6 inches in 3 hours. So it's just a very fast, intense storm, and you can't design anything to take that amount of water in quickly.
Gotcha. All right. Councilman Schmidt. And-
My turn? Oh, thank you. A few things. First is the agenda item, the council health care compensation. I think this current budget cycle, we have it in our budget to give us the option to do health care. I don't know if any of us do it or not, but it's there. I want to look a little bit further into seeing what the options are if we choose not to take that health care, what type of reimbursement or stipend for our own health care that we do have to be reimbursed for that. And so I would like to have the city attorney look into this a little further with HR, Jamie, and whoever else they need to talk to take one step further to see what we can offer if we don't choose ours. Because if we chose to take the cities, it's going to cost money. If we don't choose to take the cities because we have a better option, we should be able to be reimbursed for the same price as Mr. King or Ms. Bear, whoever else that took the city's option. So I'd like to make the motion to have the city attorney do that and bring us back her legal opinion on what we can do.
Second.
Motion and second. Councilman Gao.
This is a question for staff. If a staff member, because this is all the same insurance program, if a staff member refuses to take or enlist into our insurance now, currently, does he receive, or he or she receive some type of stipend or allotment towards another?
No, we don't currently have a stipend policy if you choose not to take our insurance.
So the motion right now is for something above and beyond anything that the city is currently doing.
Okay. Councilman Destin.
That would be my point. We have looked at this issue in the past. You cannot offer alternatives to one group of employees and not all the employees. We looked at those things a long time ago, and I don't want to tell Ms. Kopp what conclusion she's going to come to, but we can't do that.
All right. Councilman Bagby.
Yeah, I would just ask Ms. Kopp if she has an opinion already that we don't need to wait 2 weeks to get your opinion.
I mean, you've seen it, it was on the agenda, so obviously you probably prepared for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is an issue with not having a discriminatory insurance program in place where different classes are created. However, there are some local governments that have a separate class for like senior management versus employees. So the issue that I would research, I guess, would be if a third class could be created for an elected official. I've not seen that. But with respect to the stipend in general, unless it was, I think it would be difficult and an uphill battle to try to do that with our charter language that we currently have. So, and I've told Councilmember Schmidt, I think it's unlikely we can do it, but I'd be happy to look at it further if council authorized it.
Yeah, because I thought, but I know they changed the charter or amended the charter while I was off.
Yep.
But the charter used to say we couldn't get compensation.
Yeah, I have it up. It basically says council members shall serve without salary, but shall be reimbursed for any expenses incurred while traveling on or performing city business. However, for such expense, reimbursement shall be line item and shall be submitted to and approved by the council.
Councilman Schmidt?
Yeah, I appreciate the history lessons, gentlemen. Thank you all very much for all the things that have been done, the charter, where we are at tonight and this year. But there are municipalities across the state of Florida that do similar things. It's possible. I feel like it's possible that we could look at that one line on the charter and say that we're performing business right now, and I want to be reimbursed during this 4 hours of my time for a 4-hour prorated version of my health care. So, I mean, I think there's ways, and all I'm asking is to maybe just look one step further than what, unfortunately, a couple people up here tell us every time we talk about this. For years, we were told we couldn't do the health care, and now we're doing it. So I'm just wanting to just take a little step further to have the attorney bring us options, because I don't think this is the only option. And I'm just trying to get a little bit of information, but it's fine.
Councilwoman?
Maybe we can just get an opinion.
I really appreciate your care that you want to give us a little extra.
Sure.
But I think when we all put our name in the hat to run for office, we knew we weren't getting paid. There was no benefit. We did this because we wanted to serve our citizens and our city. And I just feel like we don't need to give Ms. Kopp one more thing to research on something that is really a moot point at this juncture in our term with this, city.
I'm not saying it's a moot point. I just don't agree with the answers that are being provided by the person that we do our health care through to tell us what we can and can't do. So I just would like somebody that can research it to give an actual answer, not the health insurance guy who has the business with us. So I hear what you're saying. I'm not trying to get paid right now. Maybe in the future we look at that, because there are a lot of discussions that should be had in regards to that. And I bet you a charter update wouldn't be some people possibly might even be interested in that one day. Look at the last election cycle that happened with some people up here. Nobody really ran against some of these folks. Maybe if there was something to do a little bit different. So, but yeah, I've stated my case. I'm sorry, I should stop, but it's all good.
Councilman Gao, last bite at the apple. All right, I have a motion and a second, so we'll call the vote.
All right, thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4.
2024, I appreciate it.
All right.
The next thing is the city website. I really appreciate the changes that Tamara or Andy or whoever is doing on the notification, the information on it. There's some new widgets. I'm not sure if you guys have taken in consideration or looked at it lately, but I've noticed that there's some changes. So however it's happening, thank you for doing that. I've also noticed some Facebook stuff with sponsored ads. So maybe it's going to help, maybe it won't, but thank you for taking the initiative to try some new things for getting people engaged, so thank you. On that same topic, City of Fort Walton Beach recently came out with an app a mobile app to set up mainly, I think, related stuff. I know we have a mobile website, but I don't know if you or Troy or anybody has already been hearing about that app, talking with people and our partners, but I would love to see how can we do what they just did. Are y'all aware of it?
Yeah, I saw it today and did share it with all the senior leaders, but we haven't had a chance to talk about it, but I did share it.
So without jumping ahead, I did reach out to Logan, who is an assistant with the city manager over there. It is a bundle package with Civic Plus, who runs our website. So if you have Civic Plus running yours, it would be an easier thing. He's thinking it's about $10,000 a year as an add-on with Civic Plus.
Do we have Civic Plus?
That was one of the 3 recommendations when we go forward. So that would just kind of happen to work out. So I saw it too right before council, and I know Logan personally, so I reached out to him on that.
So, Mr. City Manager, is that something that y'all can bring back to us in the future, later on down the line to look at?
Sure.
Yes. Okay, I don't need a motion for that, right? And yeah, congratulations to Lewis. The other 2 candidates were really well qualified, and I understand that, and the resumes were as well. I got to interview all 3 of them, like I guess most of you had the opportunity, and I really enjoyed as well interviewing Lewis. I took the same approach to it for him as I did all the other 2, and I'm without a doubt knew that he was the person that I wanted to continue supporting this after those 3 interviews. I have all the faith in Lewis and his staff to get us to move forward. In regards to some comments earlier about the negotiations and salaries and community development director and all that, I guess that process will come. But I do know that we have a position here that warrants a certain price. And to me, potentially putting somebody in the corner during negotiation about what our last city manager was or was not paid, in my opinion, is not the best way to start a negotiation, because not everybody is the same when they come to a position. So I look forward to the contract negotiations and when we have the chance to finalize that and hopefully have you sign on. So thank you.
All right, I was just going to congratulate Lewis. I think to sum it up, he has a heart of service. He knows his community, and even talking to some of my peers about the 3 that I've talked to, it almost felt like cheating, because you just knew so much of what's going on that it was in my heart obvious that not only do you love this community, but you have the brains behind it all, and just taking over in the past already just showed just how much you're in it and wanting to be in it. So I really appreciate your time, and I'm excited for you to finish out your final chapters of your book with us here. And I thank you so much for being here with us, so thank you.
20 years.
All right, City Attorney, anything else other than the one we covered?
Well, I get to congratulate Lewis as well.
Jump on in.
And in my almost 8 years here, almost 6 of them have been with Lewis, and so I know I can speak to his integrity and his intelligence and his ability to work with people, and just really happy to have him in this role. Also, good luck at your surgery, Tori, wherever you are back there, and that's it.
All right, absolutely. All right, at this time, I will open the floor to public comment. I saw Brian Otto. I'm sure he was one of the 108 online, so you're not to pull favorites, but I saw you walk in late. I know you're a very advocate.
He heard something, he showed up.
Brian Otto, 3826 Indian Trail. No, probably wasn't going to say anything, but since you said, man, I've come up here before and I've asked about this. I just ask that maybe someone take it upon themselves to protect our right-of-ways, right? Just make sure you know where they are, what's happening on them. I've been around long enough that it starts with getting a permit, or it starts with getting something in. Hey, look, I've never been down to those parking spots. I don't know what my neighbors use them for or what my community use them for, but before we make any decisions, let's find out. I tell you what, if there's a right-of-way in your neighborhood, all of a sudden the police are being called every 5 seconds, and it's the most unsecured, unsafe place in Destin, right? We've seen this before, so just know what we're doing with them before we give them away. So, and all of our right-of-ways, like we did a few months ago, a list of all of our properties. Just make sure we're keeping an eye on that. I seen it where the people buy the house right next to it. 6 weeks later, there's a new pier down there, a new dock down there, or whatever, right? And then us citizens are calling code to stop, which should never have started. So, just my opinion.
There are right-of-ways in all of our neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
That are going to be exactly the same as that one's going to be.
What's that?
That are going to be exactly the same as that one's going to be.
Okay, I don't know if I follow why this. Fair. Yeah, I don't know if I follow. Thank you, though.
All right, anyone else here for public comments? Yes, sir, Steven. Steve or Steven? No, not one of my. No, exactly.
Once again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I'm not up here to say anything other than I'm trying to get the city to do what they told me every property is supposed to do, and that's to keep their stormwater on their property. And I'm sure that everybody who's seen what's happened over there at 126 and 128 Country Club Drive West will appreciate that. If you haven't seen it, please come over. I'll give you a cup of coffee, water, whatever you want. I'd like you to see what's happened over there and what I'm having to deal with. And that's all I'm asking is for the city to keep their water on their land. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Anyone else? Public comments before I close? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.